Hi, welcome to our YouTube channel here at Mundelein Church, the Nazarene, and we are on episode 4 of a series on the Ten Commandments. It's one way to say episode 4, the other way to say it is we're on the 4th commandment. And it is the commandment, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. This is one of the commandments that, to be honest, we just don't think it's that important. And it's probably one of the 2 commandments that Christians go against the most. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But I think this is an important commandment, one that we don't think about. Now, let's all admit some of our history with it. I'd like to think I'm young, but I'm old enough to remember a different time and a different day. When I was young, I still lived in a town where a lot of things were closed on Sunday. You couldn't go to most stores. You couldn't go to even some restaurants because it was Sunday. We live in a different time now. There really isn't much difference between any of the days. So when we talk about remember the Sabbath day, exactly what is going on with this commandment? Because we probably don't think it's that important either. First of all, let's remember the time that this commandment was given. Israel had just escaped, had just fled Egypt, where for 400 years they were slaves. They weren't that different from most places on earth. Almost all of humanity were slaves. You either were enslaved because you were carried off in war, or you worked for your local king because your king was viewed as somehow as a deity, or even if he wasn't, you slaved away for the deity. All of humanity, each individual person was little more than beasts of burden, including the Jews in Egypt. And then all of a sudden, here comes this command with the prerequisite, remember when you were slaves in Egypt. Remember the Sabbath. See, slaves cannot have a Sabbath because slaves were under the control of someone else. They had just fled Egypt's God, and now they are worshiping their God, and this is the God that tells them, remember the Sabbath day. On this day, do no work. This is something for us to remember. If we work all the time, and that's all we ever do, we are slaves. The workaholic millionaire is a rich slave, but he's still a slave. All humanity at that time were slaves. This command required masters to mandate rest. It not only says if you have slaves, if you have animals, if you have servants, they are to observe the Sabbath day. If you love your weekends now, if every Friday, if you thank God it's Friday, that concept started here with the 4th command. There is no weekend without this command years ago. There's some other things that this command has done that I don't think that we take time to be thankful for. This command created for the first time and space to enjoy family and friends. If you're not working, you have time for your family. This created time for people to enjoy each other, to just inhabit the same space together. The other thing about this command is that the benefits of this command do not even require faith. You do not have to be a Christian or a Jew or anything to enjoy the benefits that the Sabbath can provide. Anyone can enjoy the benefits of a Sabbath. See, the Sabbath is supposed to point toward an even greater rest. And when we rush past a regular Sabbath in our lives, we rush past a greater reality. That our lives are supposed to be more than just about work. Our lives are supposed to be about more than just what we produce. More than just the dollar amount that we're responsible for. There's a deeper level of understanding that goes into the story as well. In that very first story of the Bible, which is the creation story, in many ways, it's the foundational story of the Bible. There is only one day that's considered holy. In our minds, even today, that day is holy, therefore we are commanded to observe it. And that's absolutely not what's going on. In the story, on the seventh day, God rested. 6 days he created the heavens and the earth. On the seventh day, he pulled back from his labor and rested. Therefore, that day is holy. So if that is true, what lesson can we take in our day? Work is not holy. Rest is holy. Your office is not holy. Time spent with family is holy. Pursuing every dollar of economic interest is not holy. Pursuing God with all your heart and soul is. Now, let me come clean. This is a command I struggle with. I find it hard to pull back. I find it hard to not be busy. And I know some of you work on Sunday by necessity. I'm married to a nurse. I get it. People need emergency surgery on Sunday. People need drugs from a drugstore on Sunday. Someone needs to be sure electricity is being generated on a Sunday. Someone needs to be sure that the great water systems and sewer systems that we all take for granted are operating on a Sunday. I get it. However, you still need a Sabbath. You still need time to cease from your labor. You need time to carve out for your spouse and your kids and your time with God. It is good for you. It is good for your family. It is good for your marriage. It is good for your soul. And that's why the Sabbath is holy. And that's why we need to observe it. Not because God will get us if we don't, but because it was actually the command that was created for us, for our lives, and so we could, for the first time, maybe be free. So take some time regularly for Sabbath every week. You'll be happy that you did. We'll see you back here next week as we move on to the 5th episode of our 10 Commandment series. Hey, like us, follow us, and please ask us questions. We'd love to be in dialogue with you as we go forward. These are important topics, and we look forward to seeing you back here next week.